Welcome to Built to Win, the podcast created to help you level up your business game by developing a success mindset made for the long run. In this episode, Neora's Dave Fleming talks with Mikayla Gainey, a Silver National Marketing Director who shares how she finds inspiration by helping others discover their greatest potential. Mikayla, a dedicated mother of three and successful restaurant owner, discovered network marketing more than 10 years ago and found it was the perfect way for her to reach her goals. And as you're about to hear, her life was changed when she tapped into the transformative power of community and helping others identify and achieve their dreams.
Hey, welcome back to Built to Win, everybody. Appreciate you joining me. I'm really excited for the conversation we're going to get into today with Mikayla Gainey, who is joining me today. And as you heard from her bio, super impressive and just an absolute joy to work with. But for those that don't know you, Mikayla, introduce yourself. Who are you? Where do you live? What's your family like? Tell us about yourself.
Oh my goodness. Loaded question. I don't even know who I am some days. Still working on that every day. But hi, everybody. I'm so honored to be here, Dave. So thank you very much for having me. It means a lot that you asked me. To best describe my life, I think I would say I am a very dedicated mother. So my passion, my number one focus is being present for my kids. That's something I never had as a kid. So it's one of my main focuses. My husband and I got into the restaurant industry about, oh my goodness, it's been probably 15 years ago now. So I'm still kind of dabbling in the entrepreneurial world of restaurants as an owner. So I'm here in Canada. I'm in actually Kamloops, British Columbia. So for those of you who are a little bit familiar with the West Coast, I'm just straight up from Seattle. And my life has changed dramatically in the last 10 years. So who I am really, truly is just somebody who's always looking to learn. I'm constantly learning and trying to be the best version of myself. And that's kind of where I land today.
That's fantastic. And that's being the best version of yourself. That's a big part of what we are aspiring to do here on Built to Win. So I'm glad that you brought that up. And we'll try to talk about that. How do you go from where you are to where you're going? When you're introducing yourself to somebody now, how do you describe what you do now? You're partly in the restaurant business. You also run your Neora business, obviously. But how do you describe it? What do you say when someone says, "Hey, Mikayla, what do you do?"
Well, for income purposes, what I do, I market anti-aging and wellness products. So that is part of what I do. Is I'm very passionate on the side of wellness and health and holistic beauty. So that is something that I do for an income. And then the other part of that is I help develop people. So by me going out and, like I said, being the best version of myself, I go out and I help to develop other people to do the same. And I'm rewarded for doing that, obviously with Neora. So that is what I do for potentially income. I've removed myself out of my restaurants now, so I'm not involved in any of my husband's wild and crazy entrepreneurial ventures. My number one focus is really my kids and then really developing people.
And when you say develop people, tell me more about what does that look like? Is that like training? Is that courses? Is that leadership? Is that like what we do here on Built to Win, or do you have your own program? Tell me more about that.
Well, it first started with myself. So when I started with Neora 10 years ago, I was in kind of the self-discovery mode of just, who am I? Like you asked me at the very beginning, who is Mikayla? And because when Neora found me, I was not in a very good place mentally. So I knew that I needed to look for a way to make a change in my life. And I did that through many different ways. Being that I joined Neora 10 years ago, and that kind of was a vehicle for me to start surrounding myself with people that were also, I believe, in discovery of some of the same things of, that personal development side and being committed to growth first with yourself. I just started to read. I didn't read before. I really, truly, those of you who can relate to this, I'd pick up a book and I'd start to read and I'd fall asleep. I wasn't much of a reader. And so it started off with personal development first and foremost, like I did when I joined, and I read The Slight Edge that Jeff wrote. And it kind of opened my mind up to this whole world of personal development. So that's where I started my journey. And that's been a huge proponent to how I help develop people, is that, like I was mentioning, I'm on this massive journey of continuing to learn. So to answer your question, everybody that joins my organization and my team, I'm first and foremost looking to help them improve their quality of life through personal development and through reading and courses and podcasts like this one, online, one-on-ones, things like that.
That's amazing. Yeah. And for listeners who maybe haven't heard about the Slight Edge before, we've talked about that a fair amount on this podcast. One of our co-hosts, Jeff Olson, wrote that book, and it's it's a bestseller. But if you were to, and put you on the spot, since you've read that book and you direct your team to read that book as well, if you were to pull something out, like if you could sum up the Slight Edge in 30 seconds or less, like what would be the lesson that you pull out of that book and that you wanted to make sure other people understood about it?
Well, first of all, I was not living the Slight Edge. It was very evident to me when I started reading the book that everything that Jeff was talking about was truly how I lived my teen years. I was the procrastinator. I'd leave everything to the last minute. That was really truly how I was living. And I'm a hard worker. I've always been a very hard worker. But what I started to realize after reading The Slight Edge was that it really truly was the small things that I was doing or not doing that were compounding where I was ending up. So the things in my life that I wasn't appreciating and that I didn't love about what was going on in my life, it was those small decisions. So what The Slight Edge really taught me was that it's really the positive small decisions that you make every single day that really add up and take you on a journey to where you want to be, as opposed to where you don't want to be. And so for me, I mean, I read the book probably every year. I go back and read it again. But for me personally, that was just such a huge proponent of my success, is just daily disciplines, doing them over and over and over, compounding to get you to where you want to be.
Well, yeah, you couldn't, I don't think you could ask for a better summary of that book. I think if you were to ask Jeff to summarize the book, I don't know that he would be quite as on point as that. So well done.
Thanks to
So
Jeff.
yeah, thanks. Hey, sometimes, the author learns from the people who are reading the work, right? So let's talk a little bit about, because you were in the restaurant business, very successful. You mentioned that you're not doing that as much. Your husband's still running the business, it sounds like. So what made you want to look at doing something different, or were you even interested in doing something different when this came into your life?
Well, I knew that I was missing something. So, I mean, my level of joy was not there where I was at in my life when Neora came to me. So I kind of, through my discovery and through all the personal development and the learning and the courses and things that I've done, I really started to understand that, as humans, we're searching for purpose, we're searching for safety, we're searching to matter. And in my life, what I had kind of realized is that I was always searching for money as a source of safety. And it kind of stems back from coming from a divorced family, and my mom always, instilling in your mind, you have to be self-sufficient, you have to have your own money, you have to, in case, you get divorced and you're on your own. So I kind of grew up with this idea. And then my dad on the other end was kind of this really high luxury things, loved high-end things, but that takes money. So in my mind, I was always chasing after a certain number in my mind of my own personal income to be able to fulfill these like ideas in my mind of being safe and feeling safe. So at that point when I was working, so when Neora was introduced to me at that time, I was working in my restaurants, and I didn't have my own income. Like it was like a very unstable situation with we had three restaurants, and I personally, this is very vulnerable and honest, but I personally didn't invest any of the money into the restaurants. My husband did. So they weren't like my restaurants. They were ours. We worked together in them. But when Neora was introduced to me and I saw the income opportunity, and it was something that I had always wanted, it was like a deep-seated feeling of something that I always wanted. I was like, oh my goodness, what if this is a way that I can have my own thing? what if this is a way I can create my own income? What if this is a way as like a mom, busy mom with all these restaurants in my spare time, because it's very much you can do it in your spare time, from your cell phone, that I can start to create this income for myself. And back then it was all about the safety, but it's completely changed till today, 10 years later, of why I do this business. But that is the reason why it was open to even who in their right mind with like 1 million employees and 3 businesses and 2 kids at the time would even want another business, right? But that's what it
Right.
was. It was really to fulfill a need that I had.
Okay. That's because I think there are a lot of people out there that probably feel the same way to some degree or another. Like maybe it's not, but especially when you mention like having something that's your own, something that you like you can work on, that you can control, that's like, for some people it's fulfillment, for some people it's income, for some people it's recognition. But I think there are a lot of people who can relate to that sentiment, that there's something there that they're not getting from the other aspects of their life. So I appreciate you pulling that out and really specifically addressing that. And not to put you on the spot, but your team and do you know how much your team has sold in product since like in the last 5 years?
Millions? I don't know. I
Because
think.
I do. I'm looking at it. So I'm
Are
like,
you? Okay, I was gonna say
yeah.
billions.
Would it surprise you if I told you that your team has sold about $15 million in the last 5 years in product?
No. I know I'm very blessed. I know my team's amazing. I mean, it's not difficult when the products are, I don't want to swear, but really amazing.
Amazing is not a swear word,
Yeah,
but
sleep it out. But I mean, our products are so incredible. So I'm not surprised. And something when you were asking me about, fostering and how do I help develop people? I mean, one of the things on top of the fact that the products are amazing, so you can authentically share them. Like you're not making up false sales lines and pitches and things like that. Like you can authentically share these products and real stories of people who are using them. So that number doesn't surprise me. It's just, I think what's cool is that the retention of the amount of people that have decided to partner with Neora in my team, the retention has been really, really high over 10 years because we've always really fostered this environment of abundance. So and it's really started with the philosophy of the company of make people better and the idea that we're here and there's enough and abundance for everybody and we're all one team and all those different things. So it doesn't surprise me because people are genuinely enjoying being here and sharing these products and being part of the company and the mission. And so, yeah, I love it. I love knowing. I should probably know that.
well, I mean, it's something where I find a lot of people that are in this business, it's not something that they know that they keep close tabs on because it's important, but it's not really about the sales. Like you mentioned, like it's really about the team. And you do have an incredible team. Like as I've gotten to know you and know your team, like you've got a great team that's not only a lot of fun to be around, but they also reflect the values that you were talking about. And so that's also super rewarding. So, like you said, it's not about the sales, the revenue. It is, but it's not. It's really about the people. And helping them grow and helping them develop. And that's something that we really enjoy here at Neora is like what we do helps people be better. Like you said, it's not, and that means a lot of different things to a lot of different people, but it's also fun to look back and say, that's not a small business, and I don't know how it compares to the restaurant business, but that's not a small number. That's a pretty large number. A lot of people would love to have 15 million in sales over 5 years. If we were talking about the business, and you've obviously built a very successful business. Like you don't just accidentally create 15 million in sales over 5 years, but is there a secret? Is there something that you found that helped you grow a successful business? Something that you could tell other people how to do the same thing that you've done, or was it just kind of just Mikayla Gainey being Mikayla Gainey and doing your thing?
Oh, it's definitely no, it's definitely not individualized. But I think uh, for the way that from the very beginning I looked at this business and the way that I interact with my organization and my team is that it's not about the bottom line. It's really, I mean, the income, the rewards, all of those things will come when you continue to show people that you're not in it just for yourself. You're there for the good of the group. You're there for, the impact that you can make on everyone. And so for me, I just really never focused on, I mean, you do at certain times focus on numbers. Of course, it's a business. It's not something where we're just like, woohoo, everything's great and fun. And it's not, the money shows up. But it really, for my organization specifically, and I can probably attest to lots of other people in the company, is that when you focus on your purpose, you focus on what motivates and drives you. And as a leader, you understand that everybody is here for a different reason. We're not all just talking about the same thing and the drumbeat of everybody needs to do this and everybody needs to do this. It's really about getting to know why each individual person is here. Like, are you here because you need to feel seen or heard? Are you here for the recognition? Are you here, because you love goals and crushing goals and that's your motivation? Like, I make it my mission to really be able to feed and serve individual brand partners as to what it is that they need and what it is. And so I meet people where they're at. If somebody joins and they want to work towards getting their 3-year free and that's where they're happy for now, I mean, they might change their mind once they do it and see how, simple it is. But it really, I think, has been at the end of the day about building that trust with people that I'm here to support them and help them with what it is that they want for now until they build their way up. So trust, really, if I were just to put it into a nutshell, I would say you build trust with people so that you're able to fully have them feel seen. And then once you have that trust, you can help to kind of nudge them in the direction of having bigger goals and having bigger dreams and seeing what's actually possible. Because I mean, I had a little bit of an idea of what was possible, but I had no idea what, once I started to surround myself with super positive people who had big goals and aspirations, what I could actually do here.
Was there a moment where it kind of clicked for you, where you were like, oh my gosh, like this could be much, much bigger than I ever thought it could be?
In terms of monetary or in terms of the impact on people?
Both.
Both?
Yeah.
Um, okay, well, one really huge moment for me, this was one of my favorite memories, but my team, as a thank you just for, having helped them in a certain way or touched their lives in a certain way, someone made this blanket and they mailed this blanket all around and got personal signatures all the way around this beautiful blanket, just, with little sayings of thank yous and things like that. And then mailed it to me and gave it to me at a live event. And in that moment, I was just kind of, obviously I was a sobbing, blobbing mess. But in that moment, I just realized that you can have all the income, you can push and hustle and live that sort of like grinding way, or you can really go out authentically and connect with people and help people. And again, like I said, because the products are so amazing, it kind of almost takes care of itself on that aspect of the sales part, because the before and after pictures and all those things, that you really can focus on fostering those relationships and building the trust and helping people be the best versions of themselves. So when I received that gift, it was, I mean, I keep it around. It's actually downstairs in my room, but it was a light bulb moment for me that being here and being part of Neora was not just about an income opportunity. It was really, truly about, for me, fulfilling that purpose of helping people be the best versions of themselves. And because I was doing that, I was receiving all that love back.
That's
So
awesome. Yeah.
that's
No, I love that. I love that because I think there's, when you talk about business, it's really easy to talk about the numbers and kind of get stuck on the numbers. But for me, and that's one of the great things about this business, is just it's the people, it's the stories, it's all of the amazing things that people are doing. That's bigger than the numbers. And that's an amazing story. Is that, of all the memories in this business, is that, would you say that's the highlight, or what's your,
Oh
if
gosh.
that's not it, what's your favorite moment in this?
And not to say that money isn't important to me, because I, like I mentioned, I love to work hard. Like we're hustling to the very last minute of the month end, doing all the things. And we love crushing goals and setting goals, and, having the income is something that helps to give people more options in their life, right? To be able to do the
Mhm.
things that are most important to them. So, I mean, reaching the level of Silver National Marketing Director, I think was a huge monumental moment for me. It meant that I had helped promote 3 people in my organization to national marketing director. So by achieving that goal, it was massively impactful as well, because it showed that I was having that large impact on other lives and other families. So that was another really, really pivotal moment. And then I was awarded Brand Partner of the Year with the company at one point, a few years back. And I mean, to me, I was very grateful for that. So there's so many, Dave. I could list and list and list. This company's blessed me in so many ways. I mean, Steve, and just to share this with everybody who's watching that is looking at this and maybe seeing how this could fit into their life. But like my husband and I never saw each other. Like we were
Mhm.
literally working for like all day and even at night when the alarms were going off in the restaurants. Like we never saw each other. And you can imagine what that does to a relationship. So today, the fact that we both are home, like we both don't have set schedules. We both don't have bosses. We're both home. We get our kids up in the morning. He drives them to school. This morning, you can, anyway, these 2 girls, they called my daughter and said, our bus broke down. My husband jumps up and goes, picks up my daughter's friends. Like it's just the freedom and flexibility that we have in our life because of Neora has put us in that position to be able to do that. Uh, that's life changing. I mean, that's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. That's fantastic. No, and again, that's part of what I love about it. What's on the flip side, what's the hardest part about this business? Like what are those times where you're like, oh, because I know there are some amazing, awesome things that happen in this business, but like any business, there are going to be some other times, stuff that's like maybe not as awesome.
Yeah. And I mean, I think it's the fact that everybody's their own individual business. Like I'm not anyone's boss. So I can't tell people, I'm not here to tell people what to do. I'm here as a mentor and a support and a guide. So sometimes I find it frustrating and it's not frustrating in a way where, I'm like, oh, this sucks. I'm quitting. I've never felt like quitting my whole entire 10 years. I've never felt like quitting or leaving or anything like that. And that's probably wild for people to hear. But the part that frustrates me is when people are not willing to put in the effort to be able to see how they can grow in a situation. It's when people are so frustrated and they quit because they're not willing to put in the effort and the time to grow beyond where they are. That's the part that frustrates me. So, and that's what I realized about myself too. Whenever I felt like I was hitting plateaus or getting stagnant in my business, it was an opportunity for me to look, okay, what do I need to learn here? Where do I need to up level? Where can I, surround myself, read, do something that inspires me to get creative, to do and be more for my team. So that I think is really, because we're humans and we're working with humans that are not, I think, what does Jeff say? It's a volunteer army or something like that. Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It is. That's exactly the phrase that he uses. Because
yeah,
it is, because
yeah,
there's nobody saying you have to do the business, you have to get this goal, you have to sell this much. That's not how this business works. How do you and this is always fascinating to me because my background, my undergraduate degree is in psychology. And so like understanding what motivates people and how to change behavior, which you understand, like you ultimately can't change behavior for somebody else, like you said. But are there like, what can you do? Is there a way to help people see more for themselves than,
definitely. And I think it's something that I probably do very well. And it's one of the reasons why I've been able to work with people who feel like they maybe can't do this business or, you know, my favorite thing to hear is my team won't do what I want them to do. Or, just those things where it's just like they feel stuck in those places. And I think it's one of the reasons why it's one of my specialties is because I'm able to genuinely dial it back with them for them to tell me why they want to continue. And it's not me telling them, you want to do this, you want to get the trip, you want to, it's really about digging it back with them to be able to have them say to me, you're right. I am here because, I want this for my family, or, I hate my job and I want to cut back on my hours, or have my husband come home and not work so much, whatever that is. But being able to, and so for those of you who are listening, becoming the best listener. I mean, when you hear someone telling you all their problems and issues and why this isn't for them, asking great questions and then really dialing back for them to explain, this, oh, you're right, this is what I'm doing. And maybe recommending a book, recommending some kind of a material for them to look at and dig into and say, okay, don't worry about that right now. Let's focus on your personal development. Let's focus on getting your mind straight and your head right, and then refocusing in on your main purpose and why of your goals or what it is that you want here.
Yeah, which is a big part of what you brought up earlier in the Slight Edge is doing the right things consistently to help people get into that mindset of thinking bigger. And that is like, I love that you mentioned that. It's like people seeing something bigger than what they ever thought was possible with this business. And it's a cool thing when you see that light bulb go on or you see that click and they're like, oh, there's more to this. I can do more with this. And we've seen a lot of people do a lot of things building this business that opens doors to a lot of other businesses or a lot of other opportunities, or like you said, more time with your family, more flexibility, some things that really matter. If we were to fast forward to the end of this year, what does this year look like? What kind of goals, what are you looking to accomplish this year?
Well, I really strongly believe in community. So I feel that, through the pandemic, we saw a lot of people kind of go off on their own, and maybe even some models that are switching to affiliate, things like that, where people are more singularly building their businesses. And for me, one of the massive things that I've seen with the success that I've had is community. It's people coming together. It's people being in a room together. It's people, learning about who each other are. So one of my biggest goals is really to have as many people as I can at Get Real in April. It's a place where people can connect, come together. It becomes more. I mean, my team's much like a family. Like the people, they care about each other. So one of my biggest goals really truly is to have 100 people for me from Canada come to Dallas in April. And by the end of the year, by December 31st, re-ranking to Silver National Marketing Director as I've fallen back. So that's one of my biggest goals, is to be able to help the people in my organization or brand new people who are attracted to my vibe and our team, help them have success, earn some growth bonuses, and get back to that level. So that's my main focus. And it's going to be really just continuing to attract the people that are attracted to Neora, our products, the holistic, clean, products that we have, and then sort of the vibe, the vibe that we're here,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Well, and I can personally, I can vouch for the vibe. The vibe is high. I love it. I love it. So, I want to come back to something you said earlier, because you were running businesses, you're running restaurant businesses, which are like, and I've never been in the restaurant business. I've worked in restaurants, but I've never run one. But my understanding from people who run restaurants is that it's hard work. Like it can be lucrative, but you work really, really hard. And you mentioned you weren't, like you and Steve weren't getting a lot of time together because so much time spent with the restaurant business. But I'm curious, like, are there any skills? Are there anything that you took from the restaurant business that have been helpful in building a Neora business?
Absolutely. We started with franchises, which it's pretty cookie cutter. Like they tell you what to do and you do it. So with that, being very focused on the slight edge, like you show up every day, you do the same things every day. And there was a point in one of my restaurants where we did almost go bankrupt in our first franchise. And we just kept going. Like we just kept showing up and doing that. But the interesting thing about that, and what really taught me to be resilient here today in network marketing and in Neora, is that you can't give up. Like there's no option to quit because you've personally guaranteed your house. You put in hundreds of thousands of dollars in loan, like you have hundreds of thousands of dollars in loans. So the option to just shut your door and not come and roll the burrito is not an option. Like you figure out ways, you become creative, you build up resilience to keep going and figure out what works. So that was a very strong skill that I was able to bring here, because it's not just all up and rainbows and perfect, right? This is a real business. You have people that will come and you will have people that go. And so giving up was never an option for me here. Like there wouldn't, and that's why I think I said to you that I have never said I'm, thought of quitting, because it just wasn't what I saw as being smart. It's like, you don't do that. So that was one of the main skills that I learned from the restaurants. The other thing too is I think I really could notice a difference when you are working with a group of people, like I've had lots of staff, is that you are able to work with people in a way where you care about what it is, what they want in the bottom line, but it really was the recognition part. I noticed that my bottom line, like we were always making more restaurants making more money in our restaurants when people felt like they had a bit of purpose or they had goals to work for or things like that. So I do a lot of incentives and fun things like that in my organization, because I always felt like when we had common goals, I would put up big charts and we'd work towards, specific things in the restaurant. Everybody had like a fun, connected vibe. So that was something too that I brought over as well with me, is that we do lots of fun collaborative incentives and things like that we can do together. And it gives everybody like a purpose as a team. So,
yeah, no, I love that. I love that. I've found the same things. Like people will work harder towards something if it's a team effort, which is great, which is super cool. So I love that you kind of incorporated that. And yeah, like in this business, in direct selling or network marketing, like there's nobody like coming to take your house if you don't show up. And that makes it like going back to the slide edge, like one more time. It's like, those are the things. It's easy to do. It's easy not to do, because like you said, there's your livelihood maybe doesn't depend on this. If you were to tell somebody about this business, what are, if any, some of the misconceptions that you had, or maybe maybe other people might have about this business that you've learned differently?
well, I think one of the biggest fears that I hear from people, or just one of the misconceptions, not as much anymore today, but more, in the first 5 years, I would say, was the idea that you're going to spend more than you earn. Like it was this concept that, you're going to put in all this money and you're going to have all this inventory and you're going to be spending more money. Even today, sometimes when I'm, helping work through with somebody, the things that they're curious about the business and how it works. So that was sort of one of the reasons that I decided to join Neora, was because you could earn your personal products every month for free. And that was something that I could feel good about, going out and sharing this with my network, knowing that if they put in a little bit of effort, they could use our products every month for free on top of what they earned. So that was really, really important to me. I didn't want to have to hear people say, I'm spending all this money on product and I'm not earning, or until they, build up some, like a couple skills or whatever it is to be able to start getting the ball rolling on their sales. So I think that's really important for people to understand and know, that the risk is it's so low. There is none. You're not locked in or tied to anything financially. Like you can even, if something happens in your life where you're not able to work the business, or you need to put it aside for a little while, there's nothing negative that's going to happen to you, by being here. So that, I think, would be the number one thing with kind of like that inventory, like the large amount of stocking of product, it's changed so much with e-commerce and everything being online that it's so seamless with the way that we sell the products to people. So I think, and the other thing I would say is, I think people think that if they're not in at the right time, that they've missed the boat. Like, it's like, if you didn't get in at this time, or you didn't get in at this time, is there still an opportunity for me here to, have a really flourishing business? And so over the years, I've just seen so many amazing new people join that have had tons of success, that have surpassed me, that, have been able to really create something amazing for them and their family. Doesn't matter when they've joined. So
Yeah.
I think that's the other thing too.
That's awesome. This has been fantastic, and I really, really appreciate that you're coming on and being so transparent, so open with a lot of this stuff. Any parting advice? Any last thoughts on like somebody who's listening and considering doing something like this? What would you tell them?
I think I would just say, I think people just wait. They think that there's like the perfect timing. You're like, oh, I need to wait till this is right in my life, or that's right in my life. But I just would invite people to really think about, like, if you want this next year to look different, if you want the next 5 years to look different, what are you doing right now that is going to help you get there? What are your other options out there that you could do to get to where you want to be in 5 years, or to change something in your life that you'd like to change? So I just see this as being the most viable, risk-free, supportive environment that people can really dig in and have the opportunity and the options to be able to fulfill whatever that need is for them, whether it is income, whether that it is purpose and belonging, or, something that fuels them to be the best version of themselves in the next year or 5 years. I would just say, why would you not? Why would you not do it? We are very, very blessed here. We really are. I think, like, thank God every day that Neora came into my life, it really, truly has changed my life.
I love it. I love that. And you do, and you represent Neora so very, very well. And I think people probably got the feel from that, but just by listening to you today. But thank you for that as well, because we have a great culture here, and it's because of people like you that make that what it is. So that's awesome. So thanks again, and thanks for joining me. This has been fantastic. So, and thanks to all of our listeners for joining us once again to Built to Win, and we'll catch up with you next time. Take care, everybody.
That was Dave Fleming talking with Mikayla Gainey about the transformative power of community. We hope that you've enjoyed this episode, and if you learned something from it, please share it with a friend or colleague who you think would also benefit. And if you're new to Built to Win, we invite you to go back and listen to our story from the beginning. You can find us wherever you download your favorite podcasts. And while you're there, please rate us and leave a review to let us know what you think of the show.